Committee. For the record, Scott Beckstead, Rural Outreach Director for the Humane Society of the United States. Born and raised on a small family farm in southern Idaho, and where I showed dairy heifers in Future Farmers of America in high school. My entire childhood was spent surrounded by livestock, so this is something that's near and dear to my heart. But I also, when we talk about these bills, and I'm here to support, especially Senate Bill 103, I think this is an opportunity for us to really ask what kind of state we want Oregon to be. And I would simply contrast, for example, there's a pasture-based dairy just west of Salem where you can drive out and you can see hundreds of dairy cows out on grass doing what cows love to do. They are rotationally grazed. They are engaged in what we call regenerative and restorative grazing, where they actually contribute to the properties of the soil that help sequester and basically get rid of carbon dioxide and monoxide. Contrast that with what has happened to my native state, and in particular, if you drive on a hot summer day from Caldwell to Twin Falls, you're going to drive by these really giant industrial CAFOs, and you can't get the smell out of your nose. It's literally there all the way for the 3-hour drive from Caldwell to Twin Falls. And is that what we want Oregon to be? I support Senate Bill 103 in particular because it establishes a moratorium on these big industrial operations, and it establishes an animal welfare task force to make sure that the best animal husbandry practices are being followed. And it defines these big industrial CAFOs as industrial in nature and not agricultural in nature, because that's what they are. And I'll conclude my remarks there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chair Dembrow, members of the committee. My name is Brian Posewitz, and I'm here today under two separate but totally independent hats. First, I'm a staff attorney for Waterwatch of Oregon. Second, I'm on the board of an organization called Humane Voters Oregon, which is an animal welfare group. And with your permission, I'll try to cover for both in one appearance here. Humane Voters Oregon, first of all, we support Senate Bill 103. We oppose the others as insufficient. Among the issues that were highlighted by Lost Valley Farm were animal welfare issues. I detail some of those in my written testimony, and we've submitted written for both organizations, by the way. For example, there were pictures from the Oregon Department of Agriculture of cows standing ankle deep in manure that wasn't being washed out of their stalls. The East Oregonian newspaper in Pendleton called that situation inhumane. We support Senate Bill 103 because it would at least require an animal welfare task force, which would at least create an organized conversation about animal welfare issues. Equal representation from animal welfare and the dairy industry. We don't see what harm could come from that, and would encourage that to be part of any other bill that moves forward. For Waterwatch of Oregon, our positions are the same. We support Senate Bill 103. We think the others are insufficient. The first point I would want to make is that dairies use a lot of water. Water for drinking water for the cows, water for dairy operations, water for irrigation of crops. All told, it adds up to the water demands of a medium-sized city. Lost Valley Farm in particular highlighted two problems, we think, with the interface between water permitting and CAFO permitting. First of all, Lost Valley was allowed to go into operation without an approved source of water for its dairy operations and its stock watering. And that gets a little complicated, but if you look at my written testimony, I think you'll see that. And it created all kinds of problems. And one of the problems it created was Lost Valley eventually resorted to an exemption in the permit requirements, so it doesn't have to get a permit, for what's called stock watering. We think that exemption was intended for a time when stock watering was fairly incidental. In this case, we're talking about a demand on a closed aquifer of close to 1 million gallons of water a day. Senate Bill 103 would address both these issues, requiring approved sources of water before it opens and doing something to limit the stock watering exemption, which is currently unlimited, unlike every other exempt use in the water permitting statutes. Thank you very much for considering my comments.
Thank you, Brian. Chairman Dembrow and members of the committee, my name is Emily Ayu, and I am a volunteer state director for a relatively new animal wellness group called Animal Wellness Action. And we champion causes that alleviate the suffering of companion animals, farm animals, and wildlife. Animal Wellness Action is in support of Senate Bill 103, which would create a dairy animal welfare task force that would assist in reviewing standards of care for the animals in industrial dairies. In our opinion, the quality of life of the animals should be a top priority in any industry where the operation runs and profits from using animals to produce a product. In this modern day, where awareness of massive factory farms there's more awareness of massive factory farms, the vast majority of society finds these practices distasteful. The size of these mega dairies is very distressful to most people. We do have to worry. The dairy industry is dependent on its farmers, but it's also dependent on its consumers. And the idea that all mega dairy factory farm workers are animal lovers is pure fiction. There's terrible documentation out there that would make you throw up or cry if you saw the abuse that does occur at the hands of some of these workers. The Lost Valley Farm debacle is a shining example of the expression of fool's gold. The operation was supposed to be state-of-the-art, and it was going to go above and beyond the required standards of waste management and other regulations. They touted that they would surpass the other dairy farms in Oregon, and nothing could have been further from the truth. And the terrible realities of Lost Valley are well documented as well. So we ask that you please support Senate Bill 103, and I thank you for hearing my testimony.
Thank you very much, Emily. Any questions for the panel? Okay, thank you all. Bobby Frost, Shannon Lorenzo, and Joe Roach, please. Whoever wants to start.
Go ahead, Joe.
Senator Dembrow and panel, thank you very much for hearing us today. My name's Joe Rocha. I'm on the Tillamook County Creamery Board. I'm also on the Oregon Dairy Farmers Association Board, and my cows lay within Senator Roblin's district. So what I would say is, I think that it gets mistaken what a family farm actually looks like. I am a father of 4 sons that are involved in our farm throughout their life, and it's every time we had another son, it was, what are we going to do to support these so they can also be agriculturalists? And it wasn't staying the same. So we've continued to expand and grow, and some of that's been the smaller farmers that no longer wanted to stay in business have sold out to us, and we've gotten bigger. But I think it's hard to say what a size is of a mega farm or a family farm or whatever it is. We're the people that work with this land and take care of the cows. And I think that it's very hard to define us as something different. Our dairy industry is in a terrible predicament at this time, and it's very national. It's very global, and things that are really happening in Europe and Oceania do affect us, and that's why the price is low. It's a commodity market. I also think that more regulation on an industry that has really been trying to be proactive and continuous improvement is maybe not the best place to start. I think that on farms like mine that have continued to say we want to stay in business, we continue to spend a lot of money in infrastructure and improvement and to comply with the rules that are currently in. I think that it's also a wonderful proof of we had a system that worked and successfully shut down a farmer that wasn't doing a good job. So I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe, let me just ask you, how large is your dairy?
We milk just over 700 cows.
Okay.
So, but it's 1,000 with dry cows and.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Chairman Dembrow and committee members, for the record, my name is Bobby Frost, and I own a dairy farm in Creswell within Senator Przanski's district. The farm I operate with my father is the very same one that my great-grandparents founded in 1946. Lots of things have changed in 70 years, but the values that drove my granddad are the ones that remain true for us today. Those are also lessons I take great pride in passing on to my 2 young daughters. Today, we milk 425 cows, employ 9 employees full-time, and ship our milk to Darigold. I am very proud to be a 4th-generation Oregon dairy farmer. The mechanics of running a dairy has changed a lot. We swim in a sea of regulatory agencies, and keeping up with paperwork alone is a full-time job for me. That's on top of the 24/7, 365 job I already have, taking care of cows and farming 1,000 acres so that we can feed our herd. Thinking about another layer of paperwork required as what's listed in Senate 103 and 104 seems almost impossible. I don't know how I would squeeze in one more form or one more inspection or one more fee. But I would be remiss if I painted a picture of a life that didn't have any joy in it, because I absolutely love what I do. I wake up every single day and live my childhood dream. Like most dairymen, I believe that the cow is God's greatest creature, and I consider it an honor to get to work with cows every single day. The farm runs in my blood, and it's a calling I feel tailor-made for. The care and comfort of my cows is my top priority, and on any given day, you could walk onto my farm and find at least 3 generations of our family always putting the cows first. As a Darigold member, I participate in the FARM program, which is Farmers Assuring Responsible Management. It's a program that 98% of the milk in the United States goes through, and it requires documentation and third-party verification of animal welfare practices. I'm very proud of the care that I take care of what we do for our cows every day, and I don't have any problems answering questions about that.
Thank you very much.
Senator Dembro and members of the committee, my name is Shannon Lorenzo, and I am a proud member and a board of director of the Tillamook County Creamery Association. Pretty much going to echo what they have said, what dairy farmers face today with the economic impacts. I mean, if you really look at what we're getting paid today, it's about what we got paid in the 1980s, and I don't know too many industries that could operate today with what they were getting paid 3 decades ago. And we're all family farms. I mean, you look at 98% of the farms in this country, and they are family farms. And what classifies the size of a family farm really depends. He's got 4 children and 3 generations. I have 3 children in 3 generations to try to support these, families. And the economics, the margins we make per cow is so small, so we have to begin to grow and buy out our neighbors. And to draw a line in the sand of what is small and what is large, it's a moving target. And it differs between families, and it's going to change from today till tomorrow. And the most thing that terrifies me in this business going forward is not the economic part of it. We've all lived through some of the craziest things you've ever could experience in your life, but it's for my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it's regulatory. And especially a state that's going to put in some regulatory stuff that's going to put us out of we can't compete with not only world competition, but in the United States. And that's the biggest thing that terrifies me. And I think we're talking about one bad actor here that, and I applaud ODA for how they handled the situation. And really, quite frankly, it happened quite rapidly. We at TCCA were very involved in that process and to handle where there wasn't an animal welfare issue. And for one bad actor and the agency, it worked. And to put in new regulation, I think, we're committed to working with you on Senate Bill 876, Senator. But as far as 103 and 104, it's devastating. So thank you for your time, and do you have any questions?
Senator Roebland.
I was just going to ask, do any of you get a vacation with your kids? My family members in Squim that used to farm and were in charge of milking, that was not a big part of their lifestyle.
We can't all afford to leave at the same time. So
I just wanted to put that on the record because I think that's something
our
people
vacations
don't.
usually are on the farm.
Yeah, we heard from Bobby that every day is a vacation. Right?
Exactly. Well, they better hope that because
I work with my family, so every day is not always a
Senator Benz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just curious. My family's in the beef cattle business, and my 3 brothers run ranches, and they've had to grow bigger a condition of staying in business. They had no choice. The story you just told is exactly their story of buying up the neighbor buy, and that was in order to keep to stay relevant, to be able to compete. Now you have a vertical integrated. Hooray for Tillamook! I mean, it's amazing. You don't have to go, to whoever you're selling your milk to. You sell your milk to yourself. But I just want to reemphasize the fact that in this agricultural business that we all, at least I play in, you guys are in, if you don't get bigger, you're done. Is that a correct statement?
That's a very correct statement, yes.
I would add to that and say, like Joe said, it really depends on the size of your family. When I graduated from college and I told my parents I wanted to come home and be a farmer, we had to add 50 more cows just to be able to support me. And our business is always changing as the older generations retire out, and so it's sort of fluid. It's always going to be changing, and being bigger is one of the options you have for taking care of how those changes come around.
Thank you all very much.
Wait a minute, I get a question for these three. Yes. What's the difference between an operation of your dairy herds and a farmer that raises beef cows? It has 1,000 or 2,000 head of beef cows. I know he doesn't have to take care of them and milk them daily like you do, but doesn't it kind of run parallel that he has to grow the feed and he has the mess that they leave behind to deal with? Is it similar?
Most of the beef farmers, are you talking about a cow-calf operation that are, out in rangeland? Are you talking a feeding a feedlot operation? There's totally different beef operations that are different. I mean, most cow-calf operations are in rangeland and pasture, and you don't have to feed calves. They're not contained. Feedlot, operations where they finish them out are more in a confined area, and they finish them out. And it would be the most similar to a dairy, but definitely different. You're not milking them.
When you say when they finish them out, that means they're getting ready to hit my plate, right?
They are.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Fresh. Yes, Senator Rubin.
Yeah, just a real quick one. Your family started in the 1940s. Has it changed with respect to how much of your own feed you have to grow now in comparison to what used to happen, or has that been pretty much the same along the line?
It's been pretty much the same. Western Oregon, we're blessed. We can grow grass here like nobody's business, and so it's pretty easy to grow enough grass to be able to feed the cows. Obviously, we have to grow more of it now than we did then, but we live in a great place to be able to grow cow feed, that's for sure.
One quick one. The regulation, how have they grown since your operation began in the 40s?
Tremendously. I think if you don't have it in front of you, Tammy Denny with the Oregon Dairy Farmers Association has a little flow chart of how many regulatory agencies we deal with on a regular basis. It is astounding and a little mind-boggling.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that right there. I mean, it's alphabet soup. I could go on and on and on with everyone that we have to deal with, but it's insane. It feels insane.
Yes, there are many people that care about you. Thank you, all three of you.
Well, thank you.
Julia DeGraw and Dale Skiles, please. And Kevin Jones, is Kevin here? Okay, Julia, why don't you start?
All right. For the record, my name is Julia DeGraw, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, Chair Denbrough and Vice Chair Olson, and